Hello and welcome to The Odds Must Be Crazy on Skepticality, where I'm better friends now with people I never even knew in high school.
And where bed bug protectors are part of Bed Bath & Beyond's dormitory registry checklist. I'm Wendy Hughes.
And I'm John Rael. Wendy, remember when we bumped into each other at the pharmacy?
Yep, I love seeing my friends unexpectedly in public places.
Skepticality listener Chris Benson sent us two for the price of one. His first coincidence story is about moving to a new school in a new town in high school. He wrote, I have two similar-ish stories. 1. In the fall of 1979, my family moved from Muscatine, Iowa to Kingman, Arizona. It was the week before Halloween of my senior year, and I was leaving behind a graduating class of 379. On my first or second day at my new high school, I was walking down the hall and found myself looking at an acquaintance from my old high school class. We were both surprised, to say the least. That was a different kind of high school reunion. Do you want to read Chris's second coincidence?
Sure I do. Chris continues, in the early 1980s, I was at Arizona State, and a friend of mine from our dorm needed a ride to University of Arizona for an ROTC function. I had a friend from Kingman whom I knew was at University of Arizona, but we had not spoken for a couple years, and I had no other information, but I figured I could try to hunt him down. I dropped my dorm mate off at his ROTC thing and went to the student union to see if I could look my other friend up in a school directory. The fellow at the service desk in the union said he couldn't help me because they didn't have a directory. I knew driving down there that it was a wild goose chase, but I was really disappointed. Then I turned around, trying to think of something else to try, and I'll be damned if he wasn't standing there. He was on his way to dinner at the union's cafeteria, and we spent a lovely evening together. The population of that school was around 30,000 at the time, and I figure the odds were something close to that.
So one of the stories took place when Chris was in high school, and the next one when he was in college. Our volunteer analyst, contributing editor Mark Gouch took a look at these stories for us. Here's his take on the high school coincidence. This is probably impossible to estimate in numerical odds. So many factors affect everything that happens. For example, way back in 1979, what were the economics of Iowa and Arizona? In general, there has been a movement of people in the U.S. to the Sun Belt. If some specific economic or other conditions made making the move desirable, that would make the chances of meeting someone who made a similar move greater.
Mark was being very practical about that explanation, but he got a little bit sarcastic for the next one.
Ooh, let's hear some of Mark's snark.
He said, I'm glad this story happened over 25 years ago. I did not notice at first that Chris said it was in the 80s. I was about to criticize him for not doing a web search, or looking for a friend on the face thing, or do an online criminal record search or something to try to find his friend. But since it was a long time ago, he will be spared that criticism. If he should run into a similar situation in this decade, we know he will avail himself of the various internet tools to increase odds of success again. We are sure that it must have been surprising to find his friend. Trying to estimate the odds of doing so is probably not really possible. But I think that as usual, there are some factors that make the odds much better than we might intuitively think at first, and it's worth thinking about them. Let's think about a few possible items. There may be a lot of odds reducers that he did not mention. For example, I suspect his friend lived in a campus dormitory, and he happened on purpose or by chance to go to the student union at dinner time. I suspect that since it was a friend he was looking for, he might have gone to high school together. This means that his friend most likely lived in a dorm at the campus. If so, then it would have actually been a great plan to try to find a campus dormitory living student by going to the student union cafeteria at dinner time, or breakfast, or lunchtime. Now, if the population of the school was around 30,000 at the time and half the students lived in a dorm, then your odds of finding the person would roughly double. That would be about 1 in 15,000 chance, which is pretty long odds. So it was possible to quantify the odds in the second one.
Finally. Mark had to work twice as hard on this episode.
Thanks for listening to The Odds Must Be Crazy. Please be sure to stop by our website and involve yourself. Make a comment. Tell us if you think we got it wrong. Submit your own stories. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, circle us on Google+, and validate us in life. Hit the Submit a Story link on our website and share your own crazy stories, or tweet the short ones with the hashtag TOMBC. Also, visit our new web host, Skeptic Inc. Network.
Is that the website skepticinc.com?
That's the one.
Special thanks to our new analyst team member, Mark Gouch. Thanks, buddy.
Our theme music comes to us courtesy of Mr. Deity himself, Brian Keith Dalton. You can find him at mrdeity.com. Okay, John, you want to hear my most recent real-life coincidence?
Well, sure.
So, I was at the manicure parlor the other day, and my daughter walked in the door and surprised me. There were a whole bunch of reasons we may not have seen each other. I could have gone to another parlor. She could have put off the errand that brought her to the strip mall. A whole bunch of reasons. But because of the odds must be crazy, I really know how easy it was for us to bump into each other.
And how did you know that?
Well, it was similar to the time you and I saw each other. We live nearby one another in the same neighborhood. We both have time to run errands during the day. And she recognized my truck in the parking lot.
Well, you're no fun.
Well, skeptics have to work really hard at being killjoys.
Or sometimes not hard at all. Hey, do you like The Odds Must Be Crazy? Would you like to be a part of the team?
Team TOMBC. If you have a background in math or statistics, we're always looking for volunteer analysts to help break down our crazy stories.
Join the prestigious ranks of statistician Barbara Drescher, evolutionary psychologist Ed Clint, and analytical funny guy Mark Gouch.
If you're interested, please contact us at Wendy, WENDY, at theoddsmustbecrazy.com.
Hope to hear from you soon.
Soon.